Just look right into the camera and say, like, you don't scare me. Go.
You don't scare me, Cameron?
You gotta believe it.
Okay. It's fine. We're good. Okay. Hello. My name is Tomme. You can spell it Tomme. They, them, as well as she and her. Cool. So I'm originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. However, I moved around a lot growing up. So I lived in 5 different states during my childhood. And I moved around like every 3 years. Part of my childhood was a lot of, I feel like everyone has childhood trauma. So I was homeless for like 3 years with my family. And so like that was really rough. It was a moment in time when my parents sent me off to boarding school for stability. And I think that was the moment for me where I really started to engage with my sexual orientation. I had a best friend. She came out to me and I was like, oh, okay, like this is okay. We're doing this. And I was really happy for her, but also like for me as well, because I had someone close to me who was out. And we started to like secretly have a thing, like sneaking into her room when I was supposed to be in my room because boarding school. And that was like really fun for me at the time. But then I had this incident where I would journal all the time. I'm a big journaler because I feel like you have to write down your emotions and what you're going through. And so I had this journal and I had left it somewhere on campus and everyone knew all of my business. And it was a turning point in me and my best friend's relationship. And it really made me feel like shit, to say the least. Because she kind of like turned her back on me. She didn't want to have anything to do with me. And it was also a time when my dad had died. And so it was all these things going on. So I was like, okay, fuck being queer. I'm not dealing with that shit anymore because this is what happens when people know. And so I ended up leaving boarding school to go live with my mom. And then I went to 3 different high schools during that time. So I was like, there's no time for me to really talk these things out with myself or with other people because I had no support system. So I just was like, well, I'm not going to deal with this shit. And I didn't until like grad school. So that was pretty recent. In 2015, 2018, I graduated from grad school. And it was the first time I ever started dating. The first time I ever was like, just doing anything. So I went on Tinder and I matched with someone who identified as trans, and I was like, I don't even know what that means for me either. So I was just going back and forth with my identity. So yeah. So it was just a lot going on and it felt very scary and I didn't know what to do. I didn't have people to talk to. So it was just rough, but I got through it. I'm queer and very out now, so it's fine. Yeah, so I think when I was younger, I knew I didn't necessarily like men, but I never spoke about it because I really think that we're taught to silo our identities, and I was just worried about like, will I have a place to stay, or like being black and what does that mean for me. And it just was like no time I felt to talk about my sexual orientation or my gender identity. And my parents, love them, they're amazing. But my parents never brought those conversations up because it's like the expectation is like you like dudes, so it's nothing to talk about. And my parents would be like, oh, you can't date until you do this, until you leave my house. So it was like never any kind of conversations around it. And I don't think my first representation was until I saw like the L word. And I was like, oh my goodness, like what is this? Like this way of living is like people live like this is a way of existing and it's okay. Even though the L word has its own problems. It was just like my first kind of like way of seeing differently than what I grew up. So yeah, really didn't have those conversations. I think trauma 100% impacts identity, because especially in your childhood, you're getting so many messages from so many different people about how to be, how not to be, and if you're a certain way, then we're gonna cast you out, or we're gonna like talk down on you and make you feel some type of way. So having that trauma, it made me just suppress everything. It made me not want to share who I am with anybody, because I don't know how they're gonna react. And if they react in a way that isn't comforting, I'm gonna shut down even more. So I think for me, I know my trauma really impacted who I was. 'Cause I wasn't until like my 20s until I was dating, and like all my friends were already dating, out here having sex. Like I wasn't doing any of that. I was just like, I'm gonna just sit over here, y'all can do y'all. Like, and it's because of like so many experiences I had with like being homeless, being told that I have to be this way, being told that I have to wear dresses to be feminine, or just like dealing with cis men and like those type of exchanges, like they weren't positive exchanges. So I'm just like, wow, like this is a lot for me. So I'm just gonna not share anything. And so I was just a late bloomer, you know? That's a really good question. I think advice that I still give myself and that I would give someone else is like, be patient and be kind to yourself, because I know those experiences made me really talk badly about myself. It made me feel like I'm not that bitch when I am. Like it really made me feel like I was just a shit person. So when you have that negative self-talk, it starts to impact how you interact with people, how you see yourself. And so I would just tell people to, you know, stay positive, and where you're going through is temporary. And it will be a time when you are so sure of who you are that no matter what anybody says to you, you're gonna be like, fuck you, I'm still amazing, I'm still gonna do me. So I think it just takes time and patience and kindness.
If you even identify with womanhood or femininity?
I don't think I really identify with womanhood, cause yeah, I don't identify with it. Femininity, yes, but I also identify with masculinity too, because I don't think you can exist without both. So my presentation is very feminine for the most part, but I feel like the way I move in the world and how I interact with people can be like stereotypically masculine, I guess. But I love femininity. I think it's a beautiful thing. I think we should embrace all of who we are. And yeah, because I identify as a non-binary femme, because that's how I present to people and myself. Femme. Oh my goodness, what does it mean to me? I think for me, femme is just like, I can't define it, because like that's just who I am. It's just like, it's a part of me, and how I may express myself with my clothes, how I may talk with people, how I care for people. It can be femme, but like I think femme is so broad too. Like anything can be femme, anybody can be femme. So I can't say what it is, because it's so much. And to try to define it as just a one type of thing doesn't do it justice, in my opinion. I think it's both. I think we should push away from labels, because no matter how powerful a label can be, when we see or hear someone label themselves as a certain way, we're like, these are all the assumptions I'm gonna make about you and your identity. But when we have people who identify that way and showing that no matter your assumptions, I'm still all of these things, I think that's so powerful too. And that representation is still needed for where we are in society. But progressively down the road, I would like for us not to have to identify any kind of way. Just, I am who I am, and you either like me or you don't like me because of my characteristics, not because of like, because of my personality, not because of my characteristics, you know? I think that's something that I've always, like, since I've come into who I am, something that I battle with, because it would be a point, it was a point in time in my life where I was like, I'm not queer enough. So I need to do all of these things to be more queer, to be more seen. But I think I'm at this point where it's like, I'm me and that's okay. And whatever, how you feel, it got nothing to do with me. That's all you. But I do feel a sense of unsafety or like I'm uncomfortable passing a group of men, specifically men of color, black men, because catcalling is a thing. And it's like, I be having to tell them, like, nah, get the fuck back. Like, I'm not into you. Like, never will be. But there are also times when it's like a question of safety. Like, I've had Uber rides with black men, and someone like locked me in their car and says like, I'm not gonna let you out of my car until you give me your number. So like, navigating that is hard because people are out here killing black women for not giving them the time of day. So you have to navigate or mitigate the safety as well as being seen, and like, that's difficult. It's no one way to answer that. So I think, I don't know, it's hard. It's a sticky situation. But when I'm able to be myself, or when I feel comfortable saying like, that's not me, and you're not about to like think you could talk to me this way, I do it. But when it comes to a question of safety, I'm like, I'm gonna let this one slide. I'm gonna let this one slide this one time. So yeah, I think it's just hard, you know. I think that's really hard for me where I'm at in my life right now, because I just recently moved to New York, and like, I don't have the community that I had back in DC. And so for me, when I'm safe, I'm surrounded by a community. I'm surrounded by people who I can be my authentic self with, who don't question what I say. Like, I can say in the room, white people are trash, and be with my white friends and they not feel the type of way. I can say, oh, that girl, she cute as fuck, and my straight friends not feel some type of way. So I think moments where I'm around people who fully get who I am and the complexity of who I am is when I feel safe. But I can't say that I feel that in New York just yet, because I haven't found my little community. So I define authenticity as just being yourself, no matter what people say about you, no matter what boxes people try to put you in. You're just like, fuck you, and I'm gonna do me. And yeah, that's how I feel. I think the most pressing issue is just existing, because it's so hard to exist in a world where you are being targeted every day of your life. I work at the center, and some of the people that I engage with, they sit down and they tell me their stories of being like put on a list and being targeted to get killed. And like, you know, trans people are constantly being targeted, constantly, you know, dying at the hands of people for just existing. And so I think people who go out and exist every day, no matter what, are just bomb as fuck. So yeah, that's what I think. Oh, my favorite part about being me is that there's nobody like me. Like, you cannot imitate me. You just can't be me. And I think that, like, all the things that I've gone through, like, on so many different levels, the fact that I'm so comfortable with who I am is so beautiful. So I'm like, yeah, that's how I feel. I'm just like, nobody can be me, so I'm amazing. Fun facts. I love to travel. I'm known for traveling on my own. Like, I've gone to California, Colorado, like Bratislava. Like, I love to travel, and I'm not afraid of doing it by myself. And I think it's like so much beauty in that, because I've met so many different people, and they're like, I can't believe you came out here all by yourself. I'm like, what? Who? I'm gonna wait for people to get money? No, I got the money now. I'm going now. So, if you want to travel, hit me up.